And we'll get going. All right. So today, thanks everybody for being with us here today. Main point of today's webinar, which should be about a 25 to 30-minute tops webinar, is two of our latest solutions. Basically, the two new products that we've released within the last month: the WP810 cordless Wi-Fi IP phone that you see here on the screen, as well as our GWN7605, which is a new, frankly, lower end, more simplified Wi-Fi access point. I'm going to cover that towards the end of the webinar, just to be upfront about it. The 7605 has not been officially launched yet. It will be announced next week. We had planned to actually announce it this week, but because of a couple of shipping issues outside of our control of getting the product to the warehouse, we had to delay that a little bit, but you should see that officially announced next week. So anyway, today we're going to cover the WP810, and towards the end of the webinar, going to cover the GWN7605, and then we'll wrap them up and kind of put a nice little bow around it and show you how you can actually build Wi-Fi voice solutions, which in today's day and age is incredibly important and a really popular deployment method by combining the two solutions that you're going to see here today. So actually, before I go into it, I do want to just send our best wishes from everyone at Grandstream out to everybody out on the webinar today. Hope that you all, not just yourself, but your friends, your family, your teams, your coworkers, hopefully everybody is safe and healthy. And yeah, so our best wishes go out to everybody. We'll all work together, stay together to get through this crazy time that we live in. And to put a, for all of us, it's kind of our industry is, even more important than ever before right now, because the fact that we all make communications equipment. Before we get into the actual webinar, I know here in the U.S., even our warehouses are considered needed. The term's escaping right now, but necessary infrastructure because of the fact that we do make communications equipment. So, in case anyone's wondering, we're open everywhere across the world. I'm not really aware of any of our distributors that are not open as well. So it should be, for the most part, business as usual to help you all get the communications equipment that you and your customers need. So WP810, this is actually a really exciting phone that we came out with just about, I want to say, the beginning of April. It's been out within the last month. We released it. This is, I'm sure many of you are familiar with our WP820 cordless Wi-Fi IP phone. This is essentially a more simplified version of it. Although, as you'll see, as I go and explain it to you, it's essentially, it really does have a lot of high-end features and functionality to it. The main difference between it and the WP820 is that this device is a little tiny bit smaller. It also, the WP820 actually in the background ran an Android, which actually also made it a little tiny bit more expensive, allowed you to create some custom apps with the lockdown Android we put on it. So this guy right here, and we'll cover this more a little bit later on, but this device, because of the features, the functionality, and the price point that it comes into, it really begins to compete directly with, and frankly it begins to compete directly with DECT solutions, which we'll get to a little bit later on. And it comes in at a price point and offers many, many advantages over a DECT cordless solution. So we'll get to that. But so again, this is the WP810. It's a new portable cordless Wi-Fi IP phone, the second member of our WP series of Wi-Fi IP phones. Features dual band Wi-Fi, features 2 lines, 2 SIP accounts. It is one of the best things about it, and you'll see, we'll cover this more as we go. It offers simple and manageable scalability, and that's one of the reasons why it's such a great upgrade to, replacement of, or alternative choice to DECT solutions, is that because of the price point it offers and the tremendous roaming that Wi-Fi offers, really makes it a very simple, manageable, and scalable solution. Industry-leading roaming support, we'll cover that. Very compact and lightweight device, very easy to use for remote work solutions. Also very easy to transport to and from the office, or to, because it's a Wi-Fi device, very easy to install for an employee in their home. Just basically needs to be connected to Wi-Fi, and as long as the device was provisioned, it'll connect back and get those that config through Wi-Fi, and the device is all set to go for the user at home, which makes these cordless devices great. Cordless Wi-Fi devices especially great for remote work solutions. It's ideal for a wide variety of vertical markets. Cover this a little bit later on. Obviously, the main thing I think we're going to be talking about here today, or the kind of the lens I'll talk about all of this in, is really the remote work solutions. But the thing that's great about these Wi-Fi IP phones is that they're not only great for for remote work solution, but assuming that we all do go back to work and that things over the next year or so start to get back to normal. If you bought these phones for your remote workforce, now you also have an in-office Wi-Fi solution that allows you to expand what the office already had. And one of the taglines that we're really throwing around, and this is what really begins to show you the scalability, the competition directly with DECT, it is the most affordable Wi-Fi IP phone on the market. Many different other devices, and I'm sure many of you know the kind of the history of the Wi-Fi IP phone market has been that the devices were really expensive, didn't really offer the best quality, which was frankly more of a Wi-Fi limitation. And here we have a device that retails for, actually off the top of my head, it's killing me that I can't remember it. I will look it up as we go here. It's somewhere, I want to say in like the $120 USD US dollars range on the retail price of the device, but I will slowly look that up as we go here and let you know. But that's what makes this device really so powerful, and really breaks through the noise of what a lot of Wi-Fi IP phones have traditionally been, with the high cost, the complicated use, the kind of the limitations of Wi-Fi. Obviously none of that exists anymore, and this device comes in at a price point that has a lot of different roaming support built into it. Another traditional limitation of Wi-Fi IP phones that makes it such a great cordless option. All right, so spent a little bit more time on that slide than I had liked, so we'll move through these next ones a little faster, and actually most of the stuff we're going to cover on subsequent slides. So from a feature overview of the product, as we mentioned, integrated dual band Wi-Fi, has 2 lines, 2 SIP accounts, actually supports, like pretty much most of our devices do, at least 3-way voice conferencing, HD audio, has 2 microphones on the device, acoustic echo cancellation, background noise shield technology, a rechargeable battery, support roaming through a variety of different protocols, has a configurable push-to-talk button, which is a really great security feature. And when we get to that slide, I'll talk about how remote teams can use that as well. Headset jack and micro USB port, which gives it just a couple of different options for charging there. All right, so in terms of, to get into more of the specifics of it, actually, frankly, to start back at a more kind of basic level, the great thing about these devices, and traditionally when we use the term work anywhere, we mean within an office, but here it means literally work anywhere. These phones can be very easily configured and deployed for home usage. If you're using our GDMS platform, for example, you can configure these devices without touching them, mail them out to your remote employees, and all they got to do is turn it on, connect to their Wi-Fi network, and it will automatically grab that config. But the great thing about these Wi-Fi IP phones, and especially in comparison to a DECT solution, is that there is no roaming limit within a Wi-Fi network. And most homes, or especially, a lot of homes aren't going to give you Ethernet port access, but they're going to have Wi-Fi networks already in place. And as we know, pretty much any business is going to have a Wi-Fi network. So this gives you the ability to make and receive calls from a cordless device that you can carry around, put in your pocket, put on your belt, whatnot. Anywhere within a Wi-Fi network. Great for homes. You can, somebody working from home can go out in the backyard and keep an eye on their kids while still being able to work. Dual band Wi-Fi support, as we mentioned, it's a web user interface, like all of our products do, for remote management. industry-leading roaming support, which I'll talk about in a moment, and push-to-talk, which keeps coming up. And the great thing, actually, we'll go back to push-to-talk here. The great thing about push-to-talk for a remote remote team, for example, obviously this goes for warehouse teams or in-office teams as well, but it allows you to, especially if it's a remote sales team or any team that needs to, quickly be able to keep in touch with each other, you program that side button on the device, which I'll show you when we get a picture of it, to be a push-to-talk button, and then you can allow your team to communicate with each other essentially in a mini, everybody knows push-to-talk, a little bit of a walkie-talkie mode, instant communication. Great for security, but also great for remote teams to be able to get in touch with each other and kind of get everybody's attention real fast, especially with a sales team, which is one of the popular deployments of this that I have seen. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, the scalability is really one of the big things about this device, and it kind of all starts from the price point that it offers, which I realized that I'm supposed to be looking up for you here. So just actually, bear with me. But so, because of the cost that it offers, and the fact that there is essentially not only no limit to roaming within a Wi-Fi network, but really no limit to call capacity as well. You can easily, on any one Wi-Fi access point, you can easily get 50, 60, 70 plus concurrent calls with a Wi-Fi solution. We've tested it ourselves and seen it in our own settings. So when you kind of put all of that together, Wi-Fi solutions are really built. Wi-Fi cordless solutions are built for scalability. Obviously, here we're probably talking more about an office, but it also, for the remote work lens to look at this from, as I mentioned earlier, deploy these devices to your employees at home so that they have a simple, easy to use cordless Wi-Fi device to use at home. And then when we do go back into the office, now you have this whole cordless Wi-Fi solution in your office as well. So the scalability of these solutions are so much greater than DECT specifically, but also just so much greater than what Wi-Fi phones have traditionally been seen for. Obviously, the price point, which I'm finally bringing that price point up for you right now. I do apologize for that. It's $129 USD, and that's the retail price. So obviously, you all know that traditionally through the channel, especially if you're a reseller, you're gonna the price will your price will be different. The retail price is $129, which pretty much puts it right on par cost wise with, for example, one of our DECT handsets and one of our DECT base stations. So with this device, and obviously, we'll get more to the DECT comparison later, but the WP810 and a solution that would also add a Grandstream network of APs, for example, it's going to give you pretty much similar cost as a DECT solution, much simpler to scale because you're not limited based on the range of the DECT base stations, or the fact that those base stations can usually only support anywhere from 5 to 15 handsets. You're also, as I mentioned, going to get much greater capacity, HD audio, and therefore much greater quality through Wi-Fi. So I mentioned roaming a little bit throughout, just to kind of go a little bit more into that. Obviously, Wi-Fi offers easy roaming from access point to access point. That's kind of the way that the technology works, and why it's become such a, now that the quality has been improved on Wi-Fi over the last 5-10 years or so, why it is such a great option for cordless solutions or for in-home telephony solutions. And the WP810 specifically has been, just like our 820, has been optimized to always connect to the access point with the strongest signal strength. So that is one of the ways in which we ensure that the device not only obviously seamlessly roams, but while roaming is optimizing its connection to connect to the strongest connection available to it. There's also Wi-Fi Multimedia, which you see here on the screen. And that is something that the access points, that this device has. And one of the great things about pairing our the WP810 with our GWN series of Wi-Fi access points. Our GWN series of Wi-Fi access points all have built-in QoS, and what that enables you to do is to tell each access point essentially what traffic you wanted to prioritize. And in the case of, if you're installing a Wi-Fi voice solution, you're going to want to make sure that those critical calls can always go through and go in through the access point, enable QoS, and basically tell it to prioritize voice and or video calls. And what our device does, and this is something that has to be enabled. You do see when enabled. It's not enabled by default. But when you do enable Wi-Fi Multimedia on the WP810, it will actually auto-adjust the QoS on the access points while you're roaming to prioritize those calls. So essentially it will make sure that when it does roam or switch to a new access point, that if QoS hasn't been optimized on that access point, the WP810 will do it for you. I think I skipped one there. We talked about push to talk. I think I pretty much said pretty much everything there is to say. Just always, and you see the orange arrow. That's the button on the side. It is a configurable push to talk button. It's essentially a soft key, and one of the features or one of the ways you can program it is to be a push to talk button. Great for remote teams to quickly and easily keep in touch with each other, and a really powerful safety and communication tool for something like a warehouse, for example. Just took a quick drink of coffee there. All right, we're beginning to make some progress here. Beginning to wrap up the WP810, and as I mentioned, we'll finish up real fast, probably about 10 minutes at the end with the GWN7605. So back to the 810, here we go. One of the great things about it being both a Wi-Fi and a VoIP device is that it combines all the great security features that are offered from both. So AES encryption, secure boot, unique security certificate per device, random default password per device. Those first four the secure boot, the security certificate, and the default passwords are traditionally kind of Wi-Fi security features that have also been added into that. Those are all features that are also available on our GWN series of Wi-Fi access points. And then, as we all know, TLS and SRTP encryption are the strongest VoIP encryption technologies out there. And you compare all of this to DECT, and DECT, you're not going to get a secure boot or the unique certificate per device or any of that. So it just gives you a lot stronger security than DECT. And as you see, I keep mentioning DECT, and you can kind of get the impression that we're really positioning this as a potential, as a great and an ideal upgrade and replacement to DECT solutions. Always important with a cordless phone, the battery life that it offers. This phone does have a removable, rechargeable lithium-ion battery, 1500 mAh capacity, which gives it about a 6-hour talk time or 120-hour standby time. Another traditional limitation of Wi-Fi IP phones has been, or Wi-Fi cordless devices, has been this standby time and this talk time. Traditionally, that a lot of the kind of major models out there needed to be charged multiple times a day, and by creating this device and the way that we did, it allows it to really have a pretty much what most people are used to and what most people are going to need. 6 hours, pretty much the majority of one's working day, from the rechargeable battery. And that battery, I'm actually going to, no, we'll come back to that. Was going to show you, and I'm going to show you on the next slide, the multiple different ways you can charge the battery. It does have a micro USB port. It does come with a micro USB charger. So that is, it comes with a micro USB, or actually, I'll just leave that for the next slide. So 3.5 millimeter headset jack to hook headsets up to it, micro USB port for charging, dual band Wi-Fi, as we mentioned, and 2 mics on the device. One on the back, or one on the front, and actually one on the back near the speakerphone as well. So in terms of the multiple charging methods, looks like I gotta click this a couple of times to get it all to come up. So here are your 3 different options in terms of charging this device. You can charge it from the base station, which it comes with, the WP810 dock, which is, you know, like any dock, light, easy to move around, easy to carry. We also, I'm gonna skip to the bottom of the screen here. You can charge it using any micro USB cable. That you may have laying around. The device has a micro USB port on the bottom, and that is how it is charged. We also have provide maybe is the wrong word. We sell a 8 battery charger that we call the GM708. To be completely honest, this product is really kind of flown under the radar. It really at the moment is only worked with the WP810, but is also works with batteries for the WP820. So for probably more for when we get back into the office, or for larger teams, for warehouse teams, that battery charger, which can charge up to 8 batteries at a time and has a whole bunch of different charging modes and fast charging modes, gives you the ability to charge up to 8 batteries at a time. That device is available through our distribution, and because it's kind of a product that's flown under the radar a little bit, if your distribution isn't quite sure what it is at first, just ask them to ask us about it, and we'll get it to you. In terms of upgrading and mass provisioning, nice little effect there. Bunch of different options. Remote deployment is probably at the moment the most popular one, and as I mentioned earlier, you know, one of the great things about our GDMS platform, for example, which is the Grandstream Device Management System, is it would allow you to configure this device without touching it and have the device mailed out to the user at their home. They just connect it to their Wi-Fi network, and it's automatically sent the config file from GDMS. Just one example, but at the moment, probably the most popular. Automatic Wi-Fi configuration as well. These devices can be batch configured. Obviously, there's also the more traditional routes of uploading and updating them through the web user interface. You can upload the firmware through the web UI. All of that can also be scheduled and done automatically through GDMS as well. Also, upgrade via a USB flash drive. Maybe if for whatever reason, if this is the easiest or the best option for remote users, send them a USB flash drive with the config on it. They plug it into their computer, and then they can pretty much get the device updated right away. But obviously, the remote deployment is the most popular one here. But just wanted to kind of highlight the many ways these devices can be upgraded, mass provisioned, and deployed. Included in the WP810 box is, and this is what I was looking for earlier, a charging station, a power adapter. It's a micro USB power adapter. And as I mentioned, any other micro USB power adapter will work with this device. Comes with a belt clip, comes with the lithium ion battery. All right. Sorry, took a little drink of coffee there. So, as I'm sure hopefully many of you have noticed over the years, one of the great things and one of the reasons why we make so many different products and try to touch into so many different product categories is because we really we make them all work together, essentially. And that's another great use of this product. So it's not just, a simple cordless Wi-Fi AP phone. It has some great integrations with other Grandstream products. The access points are pretty much the most obvious. We talked earlier about the QoS that the access points have, which allow you to prioritize voice and video calls with the WP810 over Wi-Fi. We also talked about how the WP810 has that Wi-Fi multimedia function, which is enabled to automatically adjust the QoS of our access points. By combining them, you're also able to have the device or the two actually create frankly, a little bit more of a secure connection that supports seamless roaming by passing security certificates of the WP810 device from access point to access point as it roams, while also connecting when the WP810 connects to a GWN AP, will actually also let it know where the other access points are so that it further facilitates that roaming process. So now some of the other products that aren't as obvious as the GWN series. Our GDS series of facility access devices. Many of you know those as some really easy to use but really powerful facility access solution, door cameras or door intercoms. It's two devices, 3710 that has a camera. That's the picture you see. 3705 that does not have a camera. So what this device, and frankly pretty much any other Grandstream device, but this one even more powerful because it's cordless, allows you to open doors connected to a GDS device. All of our phones are programmed so that when they receive a call from the GDS, a little button or a little key will pop up in the bottom of the screen and give you the ability to actually tell the GDS to open the door and let the person in. So this would essentially, with this WP810, give you wireless control of facility access while also creating a voice intercom connection between this device and any GDS device. The best and the first deployment scenario for that always comes into mind is a school where a principal or an administrator or security personnel can walk around, can have this phone on their desk and essentially, or excuse me, on their desk or on their belt, and essentially, if it was programmed that way, no one could be let in unless they were let in by this user on this device or from any other Grandstream device. We also, these guys pair great with our GSC series of intercom and public address devices, which do have Wi-Fi. Basically, with the WP810 gives you the ability to, from anywhere, to wirelessly send a page or make an intercom announcement with these devices simply by dialing the extension of the devices. So for example, if a security guard wants to, or we'll say if a principal wants to announce to a specific classroom that maybe somebody is coming to drop something off, they can simply dial the GSC device, the extension of it in that classroom, and if it's a 3510, they could actually have a two-way conversation with the teacher, with the class from this wireless phone. We're also, and many of you know our history of, we had surveillance cameras in the past. We're within the next couple of months, we're about to relaunch, I don't know if relaunch is the right word, we're about to come out with new ones. It's a whole new generation, new look, new feel, actually lower price point, to be honest with you. So not just those, but really any SIP camera gives you the ability to configure the camera to send out alerts, alarms, and notification when certain security events occur. Much of it can be done through just a simple extension call, and that's the example here. Set your camera so that if motion detection goes off, for example, it can automatically trigger a call or send a notification to a user on their WP810 or any other Grandstream phone, or actually any other email as well. So there is a quick, maybe a little bit quick, a little bit more drawn out, but some examples of some of the powerful integrations that the WP810 offers. So I mentioned it earlier. I see I'm about 11 o'clock here local time, so 30 minutes in, going a little bit longer than I thought. Should be able to wrap up here, I believe, in the next 10 minutes. The 7605, which we're going to finish up with, is frankly a little bit more of a simple, Wi-Fi access point. Not all too much to say about Wi-Fi access points sometimes. So I mentioned it throughout. This is just a slide to kind of touch on it. All the different advantages that the WP810 offers in comparison to a DEC solution. Simpler scalability, no roaming limit, greater call capacity, more secure, easier provisions, similar costs. So just to real quickly kind of go through some of these on the call capacity, as we talked about with Wi-Fi, there is virtually no limit to call capacity with Wi-Fi, whereas DEC, it's an older technology. Most DEC channels, as it says there, restrict concurrent calls to 5 to 10 in any one area on any one base station. So you're really not going to be able to get more than 5 to 10 concurrent calls in one area. In terms of roaming, no roaming limit within a Wi-Fi environment. There's no extra equipment that you need to create to allow roaming with a device like the WP810, whereas with a DEC solution, you're dealing with dedicated base stations that have limited range, and if you want to extend those range, you're adding in other expensive products, multi-cell controllers, additional base stations, etc. Just makes it more complicated and adds to the cost of the deployment and adds to the pieces of the deployment too, which is something that has to be managed later on. Scalability, it's, as you know, with the WP810, because it has no roaming limit, because of that price point I mentioned, that really comes in pretty much right at the cost of a, and even below the cost of a decked handset and base station. Scalability with a Wi-Fi solution is simple and unlimited. All you got to do is add Wi-Fi access points or handsets to expand the range or to expand the users that are on the system. With DECT, it's a lot more limited and a lot more complicated. Obviously, base stations can only manage a certain amount of handsets. We talked about what requires to scale or to grow with multiple other repeater systems or multi-cell systems, and the concurrent calls per base station are also going to be limited. Last couple of things here, mass provisioning. As we talked about earlier, you provision and set up these WP810s really the same way as any other IP phone. So mass provisioning is completely supported, including all configuration parameters, and DECT is frankly notoriously difficult to provision. And then you get down to the security, and DECT being an older technology, its voice packet encryption is weaker than the modern version of acoustic, or of AES encryption. And what we have with WP810 is really bank grade modern VoIP and Wi-Fi security, all the things that we talked about. I'm gonna fly through this slide for the purpose of time. All right, so that was a quick introduction into our WP810 cordless Wi-Fi IP phone for the last 10 minutes here. Over the next couple of slides, just gonna highlight our GWN7605. This is a new 802.11ac Wave 2 access point that we are coming out with. It will be announced next week. We had planned to announce it actually last week, but just because of some very small issues, which I mentioned earlier, we're simply just shipping, which in the world that we live in today, I think everyone is potentially dealing with shipping delays on really big shipments. So this will be announced next week. There's no issue with the product. It works perfectly fine, as I mentioned, just a logistical issue. You'll see this announced next week. So this is frankly, more of a kind of small to medium density Wi-Fi access point on the lower end of the speeds that it offers within our GWN series, 1.27 gigabits per second. It gives you that 2x2 MIMO, which, as you know, we have other devices that are 3x3 and 4x4, and that pretty much just tells you how many internal antennas the device has. And the MIMO technology speaks to the fact that it allows those antennas to both send and receive signals at the same time. It gives you a 165 meter coverage range, which most of our APs are right around 175, so pretty standard there. Support for up to 100 Wi-Fi clients. So when you combine the speed and the support for the clients that it has, I think this is really, again, a great access point for small, medium density, potentially a great access point for remote users as well. Because of the power that it offers. You're not going to pay for more than you need with this device. It's great for a smaller working area within an office, or, as I mentioned, a home environment as well. Talk about more of the management of this device on a later slide. So just to kind of go through some of these devices, as we mentioned earlier, or as I keep mentioning, it's ideal for that low to medium volume Wi-Fi traffic, home users, maybe not super busy areas of offices, smaller working areas, conference rooms, huddle rooms, whatnot. Gives you a bunch of advanced features that I mentioned there, which are, frankly, most of those are standard across our GWN series of access points. The ability to support, I believe it's up to 15 or 16 SSIDs. It has the beamforming technology, built-in QoS, which we talked about a little bit with the Wi-Fi phones, and captive portals, just to name a few. So the device itself here is what you get. It looks exactly like all of our previous round GWN series Wi-Fi access points. It gives you 2 different network ports there on the back, a reset pin as well. Does come with the wall or the ceiling mount, like all of our GWN access points do, that wall or ceiling mount, and the screws needed for it does come in the box. Dual band Wi-Fi supports all the way up to 802.11 AC, which the majority of our GWN series access points do. Not all of them, but the majority of them do. So with this on 802.11 AC, the newest and the the strongest Wi-Fi band get up to 867 megabytes per second, and like. Yeah, I think I usually explain this, but I think it's more or less nowadays a standard feature of a lot of APs. The ability to be backwards compatible, to also support older routers or older networks that might not be using AC or 802.11a or G, that might be on older networks. All of our APs will be able to work with those routers and those older devices and those older networks if that's what you want. Wi-Fi throughput, again, dual band Wi-Fi, pretty standard there. Just like all of our GWN series of Wi-Fi access points, the captive portal feature that it has built in allows you to build customized landing pages. I'm sure many of you know captive portal, pretty much just a page that a user would have to interact with and potentially provide information or a password, or just, potentially even just agree to some procedures for how your business wants to manage internet use. Full engine to be able to create these within the GWN series user interface. So that, as it says there, that user interface allows for complete control of the messaging, the look of these pages. We offer a variety of different ways to authenticate the connections through captive portals: voucher, password, social login, which is Facebook, for example. Allow people to log in with their Facebook information to validate them and authenticate them that way, and a couple other different ways. Just like pretty much I believe all of our GWN series access points have this beamforming technology built in. And basically what it allows you to do, and it kind of also is one of the things that allows the RAPs to further offer seamless roaming, is that it is actually able to recognize the clients around it and basically focus the signal strength directly at that client. And that's another great, in addition to obviously that is beamforming technology, but that also allows these devices to even further seamlessly roam, because the access points are making a conscious effort to know where the clients that are connected to it are, to share the authentication information from that client to other APs on the network, while also telling WP810 where those other Wi-Fi access points are. I believe this is the last slide, maybe not. We're wrapping up though, should be done with here within the next couple of minutes, and then we'll take any questions you have. Do apologize for going a little bit longer than I had planned, which if you've joined me for a webinar in the past, I think that is usually the way that it goes. So in terms of the network manageability options, and this is, in my opinion, the most overlooked aspect of our GWN series, is that we offer a variety, 3 different really strong, very easy to use ways to manage and configure these your Wi-Fi networks. And all of these are completely free options. So the first option, the most simple and basic option, is the embedded controller, which we have essentially taken all of the software, technology, whatnot that would be needed to set up and deploy Wi-Fi networks and manage networks of access points, and we put that into the user interface of all of our Wi-Fi APs. So any GWN series device can also be used to manage, in this case, up to 50 other Grandstream GWN series devices. Some of their access points have controllers that can support up to 30. It's usually either 30 or 50 access points, but that enables you to buy one access point and use its web user interface to set up, deploy, and manage networks of up to 50 other Grandstream GWN series access points. Again, all within the web user interface of any GWN AP. We also offer GWN Cloud. This is a fully free cloud management platform, has no limit on the amount of access points, Grandstream access points it can support. In today's day and age, with the fact that we're talking a lot about remote solutions, this is probably your best option. Gives you the ability to deploy and manage remote access points in pretty much any location. There is no limit to the amount of APs you can manage. There's virtually no limit to the amount of sites and whatnot that you can create as well. So again, fully free cloud management platform for our access points. You can go to GWN.cloud. That is the URL for it to sign up for a free account. We also have something that we call GWN Manager, and this may be new to some of you. It is currently in beta, is not official yet. GWN Manager essentially takes everything the GWN Cloud is and packages it in a premise-based software, which you can currently download from our website. If you go to the management section of the GWN product area of our website, you will see GWN Manager. You'll see a little beta logo, and you'll be able to download that from the product page on there. So that is GWN Cloud. Essentially, if you would prefer it as a premise-based software controller, gives you a lot more capacity than the embedded controller. As you can see, I believe we're currently, it says 3,000 GWN access points, but I believe we've actually changed that to be unlimited. So if you have a smaller network, all in one location, the embedded controller is the best option for you. If you have multiple different locations and want to be able to manage a lot of different access points from one location, GWN Cloud or GWN Manager are your option, are your best options. GWN Cloud, probably because it's cloud, centralized, probably the easiest one to use and deploy, whereas GWN Manager, ideal for those who would prefer not to use a cloud solution. Last couple of slides here, just visually kind of bringing everything we talked about here together. We first talked about our WP810 Wi-Fi IP phone, then the GWN7605. So I wanted to wrap up here today by giving you a little bit of a visual deployment or network graph of how a solution like this could be set up. And here you see, basically, it's an entirely Wi-Fi based telephony network running off of our UCM series of IP PBXs with all of these devices, whether mobile phones running Grandstream Wave app, laptops, which obviously are general work devices, but which could also be running our IP video talk platform, our video phones, and WP series cordless phones. Also our GRP series, many of those devices have Wi-Fi built into it as well. So just a quick little visual case study of a local office deployment. Obviously, you could switch third floor, first floor, or third floor, second floor, first floor. You could switch with Joe's house and Maria's house and Frank's house. Really a lot of the same type of thing. You might not have the PoE switch in there, in which case you'd be connecting back through Wi-Fi, but just another option there. Here's just a multiple office deployment scenario, and here you have two different PBXs in one locations that are peered together. You could also have one PBX that's peered to connect to both locations with GWN series Wi-Fi access points, GDS devices, and the WP810 and 820 to create a little bit of a wireless communication and security solution there. And last slide before we wrap up. This is just kind of a quick little, you've probably seen this slide before. This is a great, in my opinion, visual example of everything that we have to offer here at Grandstream. In terms of creating a mobile office solution, our UCM series of IP PBXs allow you to build communication platforms that support remote users. Our GWN series of Wi-Fi access points allows you to then take that and deploy that VoIP platform wirelessly. And we have a wide variety of access points, of devices and apps, including our WP810, which we talked about here today, that allow you to build wireless-based VoIP voice and video solutions. All right. That is it. I appreciate everybody's time. We went about 16 minutes longer than I had planned to. tend to get a little bit excited when talking about some of these products and go into more detail than I plan to. So do appreciate everyone taking some time out of your busy days and having some patience with us here today. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so I can pop back in and answer any questions that may have come up. So you're going to see the screen go blank here. All right. I see some questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send them over through the question and answer in the lower right-hand corner or the chat. I will go through and answer anything that I can at the moment. We will send out a copy. I did record this. Maybe, hopefully you saw me at the beginning hit that record button. So we will send out a recording to everyone that has attended here today. All right, so let's go through some of these questions. Does it have VPN capability? Assuming you're talking about the 10, yes, I should have mentioned that. It does have an open VPN client, which pretty much my understanding is that all of our Wi-Fi capable endpoints do have open VPN client built into it. WP810 is not an Android phone. I believe it's just a Linux phone. So it is not an Android phone. Hopefully I didn't make that too confusing earlier on. The WP820, which has been out for actually, I think like a year and a half or so. I'm sure many of you know that. That was our first Wi-Fi AP phone. We actually built that device to run kind of a locked down version of Android, so that theoretically, if you wanted to create an Android app, we could provide you with the kit to be able to do so and put on the phone. So that's where Android in the WP series came from. However, to be completely honest, it didn't, you're going to be limited in terms of a small phone with a small screen, and the power to do 2 SIP accounts. So I guess what I'm saying is there wasn't really much of an advantage of having Android on the 820. So this 810 does not support Android, but as I mentioned, you don't really need it. Push to talk soft phone app. A couple of people have mentioned about that, or the ability to have push to talk within Grandstream Wave. That is a good idea. I would imagine, and I will take this back to our engineers, I would imagine that we can support that. It's just something that hasn't been implemented, but I do like that. I do think that is a good idea. Push to talk button within the Grandstream Wave app. Yeah, that is a good idea. I will pass that along. Yeah, good question. GWN Manager, obviously you would connect it to the internet. It would allow you to control devices in different geographical locations. You would just have to, obviously, some additional configuration and port forwarding, I believe, that would be required. VPN, putting them all on a VPN, for example, would be one way to do that. There's a question about Grandstream POV switches. Some of you may have heard through the grapevine, or maybe we told you directly, we are actually in the process of developing our own PoE switches. That process, we had initially expected those to be out towards the end of this year. Be completely honest, I don't know how this whole situation with the world and the COVID-19 situation is going to impact that development. I haven't heard or been told that there has been any impact to it, but something to keep a lookout for towards the end of the year. The cameras that I mentioned are slated to be released. These are the IP video surveillance cameras from Grandstream. They are slated to be released at the end of May. We've actually had them, we've had them out for a beta test. For just about, I think we announced the beta test back in, when did we announce the beta test? It's been out in beta for a couple of months at least, we'll just say that. So it's a fully stable, pretty much mostly ready to go product. We're expecting to announce it at the end of May. Yeah, WP810 does have OpenVPN tunnel built in, or OpenVPN client built into it. I don't know how I forgot to mention that, but that is obviously, especially in today's day and age, really, really important. Question about if we're planning to do a webinar to highlight the new video conferencing products. So a couple of things, and obviously this goes a little bit off the topic here, but I think it's a good topic to touch on since we're all here today. So we are, if those of you that might be a Grandstream insider or might pay some attention to that program, you may have noticed that on Friday we announced a new beta test that was going to take place over the next couple of months, and it included 3 new video conferencing products. One being a high-end video conferencing camera like our GVC3200, essentially a higher-end version of that with a built-in MCU and 4K video capability. There's another device that is essentially more of a, not more of, it is a low-cost tabletop or excuse me, TV top or desktop, call it webcam, essentially, that's coming in at a very low price point, and then there is a wireless conferencing speaker and microphone that goes into that. Keep an eye out for a webinar we're going to be holding to introduce those and give you a preview of those. That webinar, I believe we're going to announce at the end of this week, and the webinar will be held either next week or the following week. Another thing that we announced recently, just about a month ago, was whole new enhancements and new plans with our IP Video Talk meetings platform. That is our web meetings and conferencing platform. Did a webinar last week to kind of go over that, and I believe that's up on our YouTube page. And while I'm talking about it, this recording here will be up on our YouTube page as well. And the WP810 take video from the GDS. It cannot currently. It does allow you the streaming audio intercom with any GDS. It does not currently support video streaming. That is actually something that the WP810 does support. We hope to be able to allow this device to support video with the WP810 in a future firmware upgrade. All right, it looks like that's the majority of the questions that I have here. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to shoot them over to me. I'll hang around for a couple of minutes and answer any other questions that do come in. So for everyone else, that wraps up today's webinar. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar was recorded. We'll post it on YouTube. You'll get an email directing you to that recording by the end of the week. But if you want, frankly, the fastest way to get a copy of the recording is to check our YouTube page probably tomorrow, and it should be up there. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, just to begin to wrap up here, I want to send our best wishes out to everybody. Hope you all are staying healthy, staying safe, and the same goes for your friends, your family, and your teams. We'll all stay connected and get through this together. And as always, if there is anything that we can do for you at Grandstream, please feel free to reach out and let us know. So yeah, once again, best wishes out to everyone. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. We look forward to seeing you at another Grandstream webinar very soon. Obviously, because of the what's going on in the world, we are increasing our regular webinar schedule. So keep an eye out for emails. Check the webinar page on our website, and you'll see a bunch of those coming up. So for anyone, I see some final questions that came in. I will stick around and answer those. For everyone else, thanks for being with us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.